Good evening. On behalf of the commissioners and staff, I would like to welcome you to the July 13th, 2023 City of Roseville Planning Commission meeting. As a reminder, please put all electronic devices on silent at this time. Agendas are available at the end of the staff table, and if you plan to speak at tonight's meetings, please complete a blue speaker card and return it to the staff table. As a reminder, Planning Commission meetings are broadcast live and replayed throughout the week on Consolidated Communication and Comcast. I'll now call the meeting to order. Lupe, may I please have a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Brashears is absent. Excuse. Commissioner Hagen-Joes?
Here.
Commissioner Jensen?
Here.
Commissioner Pryor?
Here.
Commissioner Randolph?
Here.
Vice Chair Covington is absent. Excused. Chair Martin.
Here. All right, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Lupe, can we please have staff introductions?
Yes. Good evening, Chair Martin and Commissioners. Lupe Nelson, Recording Secretary.
Good evening, Commissioners. Joe Speaker, Assistant City Attorney.
Good evening, Chair Martin and Commissioners. Greg Bitter, Planning Manager.
Good evening, Chair Martin and Commissioners. Derek Ogden, Senior Planner.
Good evening, Commissioners. Sean Morales, Associate Planner.
And good evening, Commissioners. Matt Todd, Principal Engineer.
Great. Glad to have all of you guys. Next item on the agenda is public comment. The public comment period is a time for anyone who would like to address the Commission on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. When addressing the Commission, please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to address the Commission on any one of tonight's agenda items? Seeing and hearing none.
Just to clarify, address the Commission on any item that isn't on the agenda.
I'm sorry, isn't, yes, not on the agenda. Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next up is the consent calendar. The consent calendar consists of routine items that may be approved under one motion as recommended in the staff reports. However, each item may be considered separately upon the request by the audience, a planning commissioner, or staff. Tonight's consent calendar consists of 2 items. It's item 5.1, the minutes from the June 22nd, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, and item 5.2, infill plan parcel 18, Cadell Residence at 123 Circuit Drive, file numbers PL22-0212. Is there anyone on the Commission or in the audience who would like to pull this item off of the consent calendar for separate discussion? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as listed?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Pryor has made the motion, and Commissioner Randolph has seconded the motion. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Pryor?
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Hagen-Joes?
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph?
Yes.
And Chair Martin.
Yes. The motion's approved. There's a 10-day appeal period for item 5.2. Next on the agenda is requests and presentations. Before we begin, I want to review the meeting procedures. We will hear the staff presentation, then I will take questions from the Commission, then I will open up the public hearing, and the applicant will make a presentation, and then I will open up the public comment, and the public will have an opportunity to speak. Then I will close the public comment, and if needed, the applicant will be given an opportunity to provide a rebuttal. Then I will close the public hearing, and finally, the Commission may ask questions of staff, and after those questions are asked, the Commission will consider the item and make a decision based upon the information provided in the report from the staff and testimony presented during tonight's hearings. The first item up is item 6.1. It is a request to consider the 11th addendum to the Sierra Vista Specific Plan Environmental Impact Report. Recommend that City Council approve the development agreement amendment and that Planning Commission approve the Major Project Permit Stage 1, Major Project Permit Stage 2, and lot line adjustment for 6,000 Baseline Road. For the record, is file number PL22-0207. Sean, can we have your presentation, please?
Yes, you may. Good evening again, Chair Martin and Commissioners. My name is Sean Morales. I'm an associate planner, and I'm here to present to you the Erickson Senior Living Project. The project site is located at 6000 Baseline Road on parcels KT41A and KT41B within the Sierra Vista Specific Plan on the north side of Baseline Road between Santucci Boulevard and Westbrook Boulevard. The 56-acre property has a zoning designation of general commercial and a general plan land use designation of community commercial. It is bordered by unincorporated Placer County to the south, a future high-density residential parcel to the west, medium and low-density subdivisions to the north, as well as a future park. And to the east are low-density subdivisions, as well as a future community commercial parcel, and there is an open space parcel at the southwest corner, just outside the project boundary. The project is in the Sierra Vista Specific Plan, which was adopted by the City Council in 2010, and the site has remained undeveloped since that time. The request before you tonight is for a development agreement amendment to memorialize the operations of the project and the electrical improvements, a major project permit stage 1 for the approval of the preliminary development plan for the entire site, a major project permit stage 2 to review the architecture and landscape for phase 1 of the project, and a lot line adjustment to move the existing lot line that bisects KT41A and B. You can see it in the center to better accommodate the proposed site plan. Erickson Senior Living proposes the first continuing care retirement community in Roseville. The three main functions of the development are independent living units, memory care, and skilled nursing, and those fall within two distinct use types in our zoning ordinance: community care facility and long-term care facility. Both of those uses are principally permitted in the GC zone, therefore Erickson Senior Living is a principally permitted use. However, it is only permitted as long as it operates as a community care facility licensed by the Department of Social Services, which requires that all residents, including independent living units, receive some level of medical care. Without medical care, the uses would be considered multifamily residential, which is not permitted in the GC zone. The baseline P&R development agreement, therefore, will be amended to include a detailed operations and licensing plan for the development to ensure compliance with the zoning. Additionally, the applicant will be required to pay an affordable housing contribution fee per square foot of habitable space for the independent living units. The fee is estimated at a little over $800,000 for phase 1 and will be around $2.7 million overall. Electric demand for full build-out of the project exceeds the demand planned for parcels KT41A and B. However, Roseville Electric is able to service the site contingent on surrounding infrastructure upgrades. Phasing of the improvements as shown here are outlined in a new DA section, and consistency with the plan will ensure that Roseville Electric will be able to serve the residents of the site and surrounding areas in a safe and orderly manner. The Stage 1 site plan is shown here on the screen. Multi-story residential buildings are highlighted in blue. Single-story community buildings are attached to those with restaurants, pools, and other services. A drive aisle shown in yellow circles the entire site, and there are various parking areas for access to the buildings within. In addition to open-air parking lots, there are indoor spaces located below second-floor amenity decks throughout the project. The entire site is gated, and there are 4 driveways that provide ingress and or egress. The main entrance will be from Baseline Road with a gatehouse. The driveway on Santucci Boulevard is strictly for use by a future park and ride lot. The driveway on Sierra Village is a secondary entrance allowing ingress and egress for residents. The driveway on Westbrook Boulevard will allow emergency vehicle access as well as egress for residents, and pedestrian access is available at each of the driveway entrances, and outdoor paths are provided throughout the site. In addition to those outdoor paths, elevated and closed walkways provide access between many of the buildings. Building architecture is reviewed in detail in Stage 2 of the MPP process. However, Stage 1 does include review of the general building envelope, including maximum height. The project consists of buildings with 1, 4, 5, and 6 stories. Those are up to 77 feet tall. Maximum height in the general commercial zone is 50 feet, but may be modified through the design review process. The community design guidelines encourage the use of high-quality architecture and a gradual transition of building height to reduce the impact on neighboring properties. The closest multi-story building to existing residences is building RB 2.4, which is 5 stories and approximately 66 feet tall. and is part of Phase 4 of the project. A section view across Sierra Village Drive is provided in the top left to compare the single-family homes to the proposed buildings. Other perspective views are also shown throughout the slide. Staff finds that the buildings achieve the goals of the design guidelines by providing high-quality architecture and a setback to the street that is proportional to the setback provided by the single-family homes. Although the proposed buildings are taller, it is set back 107 feet from the nearest property line in comparison to the 10 to 30-foot rear setbacks of the homes across the street. The overall distance from RB 2.4 to the nearest home will be approximately 188 feet. The project will be constructed in 6 distinct phases, shown here. Phase 1 will consist of independent living units and community buildings, as well as the marketing center. Phase 2 will be 2 more residential buildings. Phase 3 will have the assisted living and memory care buildings in the southeast corner. Phase 4 will consist of additional independent living and community buildings on the eastern half of the property, and Phase 5 will have 2 more residential buildings and the demolition of the marketing center. Phase 6 will consist of the skilled nursing building in the northwest of the site, as well as the park and ride lot. Construction of the entire site is estimated at 10+ years, though the applicant will be able to answer any specific timing questions if you have them. The MPP Stage 2 review is only for Phase 1 of the project, which includes the 5 buildings shown here, including the marketing center, which will be the first building constructed. The colors and materials include 2 types of fiber cement plank siding and stucco in 2 colors to be used on the building walls and balconies. Additionally, stone and brick will be used around the base and as accent on upper floors. Given the size of the buildings, extra attention was given to provide material and wall plane variation to avoid large blank areas. 6 different materials are used on most elevations for visual interest, and the balcony and canopies provide wall plane variation. The applicant submitted design guidelines with the project that provide a narrative context for the design themes and materials that will help guide the architecture of future buildings. The overall theme is contemporary modern, which is expressed in the architectural elements as well as the fixtures and furnishings that you can see in the images. On February 20th, the applicant held a neighborhood meeting and city staff were also present. 4 residents attended the meeting. 3 of the attendees represented a group of 2 households located along Fandango Loop north of the project site. They had concerns about dust created from construction activities and questions about the project phasing. A 4th attendee was also a resident of Fandango Loop. A Projects of Interest website was created for this development, and a notice of the Planning Commission hearing was sent to property owners within 300 feet, published in the Press Tribune and on the Arcona website, and staff received no public comment in response to the notice. An addendum to the Sierra Vista specific plan EIR was prepared to cover the minor technical changes and additions necessary to describe the impacts of the project. The addendum did not identify any new environmental impacts from those already anticipated in the EIR. So in conclusion, staff finds the project complies with the zoning ordinance, general plan, specific plan, and the community design guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends the Commission adopt the required findings of fact and approve or recommend approval of the entitlements as listed, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Sean. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff at this time? No? Okay. Then I will now open the public hearing. So I'd like to invite the project representative for this item to come up and address the Commission.
Good evening. I'm Chris Stewart on behalf of Erickson Senior Living. Thanks for having us. We've been through a lot with this project, trying to define the project use type and to work on design elements, and we appreciate staff's work getting us here. With me tonight is Mary Ann Navarro from Erickson Senior Living, and she can help me respond to your questions if you have any regarding Erickson's operations. And we're also available to answer any other questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions this time? No? Okay, question. Yeah.
Good evening. I have a question on the phasing of the project. So it's phased to be over 10 years. Will that mean constant construction for 10 years, or will be a certain part constructed, phase 1, and then there'll be a break, and then the next phase constructed? And how will you deal with traffic concerns in the area during those 10 years while construction is going on?
It won't be constant construction because it will be market-driven.
Okay.
So the first phase, obviously, there'll be a ramp up for the first phase. And then the rest will be in response to the market. probably will occur in about 2-year bursts, where we will get to the next phase approximately each 2 years.
And are the, all of the roads and things, are they put in first as part of?
Yes, fortunately, all of the perimeter roads, the arterials are there, or nearly done, and the internal loop road, most of it will be constructed in the first phase.
Okay. I'm just worried about disturbances to local
Dust.
residents and construction going on. All right, thank you for your help.
Thanks, Commissioner Prayer. Just to add on to that, I know Cliff has a comment too, but so the loop won't be fully constructed in phase 1, but it will be connected. It might be, it looks like from the plan layout, you'll probably have about half to 2/3 of it possibly, but there will be a center connector so that you have an internal loop, but it's just not the full loop.
Correct.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I have a question that just hit me when we were going over this. The licensing that the state requires, the first 2 phases, if I understand it, are for the independent living units. Does the licensing happen at that time, or does it happen after you get a higher level of care?
The licensing happens for the whole, excuse me.
Whoa. So the licensing will be in place in order to open it at the beginning? Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Thank you, Chris. Okay, I will now open the public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission on this item specifically? So if you have a comment, please come on up. There's a blue speaker card. If you could fill out the blue speaker card. And it's you have a 5-minute window to make comments. I believe the speaker card is right on the podium as well. If you can open up with your name and
My name is Amir Mutwakil. I'm a resident on Fandango Loop. My home actually backs up onto this development. So I have some concern about the staging and the use of Sierra Vista Road to build the project. There's a lot of traffic already now on that road for the actual residential homes that are being built. But in the future, there's going to be a park there and a school. And my understanding of the phasing or the design and entrance to this project, most of the staff, which would mean also the construction work, is going to be off of Sierra Vista. And that would add a lot more traffic. And based on the actual width of that road, if there's a school, there's probably going to be a bike lane. I don't know if there's going to be parking because of the park there. So I just want to make sure that if most of the construction is going to happen, the entrance would be off of the baseline, just to mitigate a lot of traffic and congestion in that area that we're actually feeling now. So, and the other thing is the actual height of the buildings that is adjacent to the homes, which is my home is one of the homes that are impacted. It seems that they gradually climb in height, and when it gets closer to the homes, it's 5-6 stories high. So I don't know if they can change that, because now we don't have any really. Most of the homes there are 2-story high, but now we have these properties that are actually exposing. And we're losing a lot of privacy there. And the other thing is also there's issues now of parking trucks and so on Sierra Vista for construction. And I know that when there is construction, they're allowed to park. It's become a problem, and where they're parking trucks overnight, cars are trying to circumvent around them, and it's a really tight road. So I'm hoping that they won't allow any parking of large vehicles, semis, and so on Sierra Vista during construction. I know that the city allows it when the construction is happening, but that road, it's a tight road, and I don't know what the schedule is for the building of the park and the school. It's going to be an even bigger problem if this goes through a 10-year process of building this development. So we really need to look at Sierra Vista as an access for employees and residents, where it should be basically off a baseline.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. Sean or Greg, do you want to add some comment about construction? I don't know if you know the answer to that item or not, as far as, Matt, you want to add?
I can answer that. So just to respond to a couple of those things, as far as the main access, it's going to be off a baseline road. There's a signalized intersection there. I believe that's where their entry features are in order to accept the residents or the visitors there. So main residential access is off a baseline road. It's a secondary access off of Sierra Village Drive, so it's not intended to be used for most of the traffic that's entering into the site. As far as construction traffic, we'll work with them during the review of the plans and the construction in order to make sure that we're entering or using the safest way to enter the site and the most appropriate way to enter the site for construction staging.
Great, thanks, Matt. One thing also, maybe you addressed about the residents coming in, but what about the staff? Because he expressed the concern about maybe staff coming off the back way. Will they be coming on the front way? Is that going to be their primary entrance as well, too?
We'll have to refer back to.
You want me to sit down?
Go ahead and sit down, yeah. Before you come up, let me just make sure that, are there any other people who have, because we'll hold this question for you in a second. Are there any other comments or questions from the public before? Oh, okay. Yeah, if you could please state your name and then give us a helpful hint on that.
Hi, Marianne Navarro, Erickson Senior Living. Thank you, commissioners. To further elaborate on the answer that Matt provided, the main entrance to the community is along Baseline at that intersection. It will be for residents, and some staff will enter there too. Usually we'll have staff, sort of separate lanes for staff and employees to enter into our main entrance. However, we will have some staff that's able to exit or enter and exit through Sierra, and also some deliveries as well. So it won't be exclusively, Baseline won't be exclusively for all traffic.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Matt, then, she indicated that there is going to be some traffic coming on the backside. Obviously, that road has a capacity.
That is correct. Yeah, there was a traffic study done that analyzed the access to the site, and so that it did anticipate for that.
So it was looked at and reviewed. Great, yeah.
I can just let the commission know that this site is community commercial in the specific plan, but it's a general commercial, which is the most intense commercial zone. I think it was anticipated in the specific plan that this could have been a power center, with several big boxes, similar to where we're building the Costco. I think the traffic analysis, and Matt can back me up on this, this project is going to have a considerably less traffic, especially because it's catering to senior citizen residents, or exclusively going to have senior citizen residents. And I think, I don't know if our representative, Marianne, wants to mention this, but it's been mentioned to us that the average age is above 70 for most of the residents on this facility. So the traffic is going to be a lot less. So there will be people using Sierra Village Drive and Baseline to access the site. But overall, it's going to be quite a bit less on both roads than what we anticipated when the specific plan was adopted.
Yeah, great, thank you. Marianne, did you want to add some more comments? Or?
I'm sorry, I would just comment, the average age of our resident is actually 81. So typically our residents have been retired for 10 or 20 years before they come to an Erickson community, and they typically are coming because they are advancing in age, or a spouse is advancing in age, and they really need the health care. They foresee a time when they're going to need to access the health care component. And so, again, they're either they're really in their late 70s to early 80s when they come to an Erickson community.
I was just trying to be polite about the age.
Thanks.
You know, just on that, I think the concern, sir, is the concern mainly the traffic during construction time. It sounds like once it's in operation, it's going to be, not that huge of a deal given the population that will be out there and traffic, but is your concern mainly during the construction
Well,
period?
yeah, since the construction is going to be over a 10-year period, it's continuous, so it's never going to stop. And my understanding is true that the service entrance is through Sierra Vista. So I just want to confirm that the residents are not going to be using that as an entry point too for the later stages, because that's going to really add a lot more.
Yeah, they should not be. It's not anticipated for the residents to be using the Sierra Village Drive.
So it's a controlled entrance and only
Yeah, everything's gated.
things gated. Okay.
It's accessible to.
And all the deliveries are going to be during the daytime. There's no late night, just like, some of the stores or.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
Thank you for your comment. So the conditions of approval, go ahead.
I guess, just a follow-up question, Matt. So Sierra Village Drive, is that a collector roadway, or is that a primary residential, or what is that street?
I believe it's primary residential.
But there's no homes fronting that, correct?
That is correct.
And so there's no parking on that street as it exists today?
There should not be, yes.
And so it's really functions as a collector roadway, even though it might be a little bit narrower. So the amount of traffic that's coming down there, to add to what Greg has said, is if this was a general commercial, which is what it was intended to be, you would probably, I'm guessing, seeing up to 4 or 5 times more traffic going down that roadway to use it as an access point than this. So this is much less. The other point I want to add, because I see this every day looking at Kaiser Hospital. Kaiser Hospital had multiple phases that were coming through, and it's surrounded by arterial roadways, but all their construction is contained inside. It's not spilling into the interior. So while I do understand the concern about how it could affect the neighbors, my view of this and seeing the way projects develop over time is that's self-contained, and the way that the phasing is put together to put that loop road in to allow it to work early on allows for those phases to work independently with the construction internal without having to sit on the outside. And Matt, I appreciate your comment saying that you work with the contractor as it goes forward to make sure that that's exactly what happens. But while I understand the concern, I just don't really feel that that's going to be an issue going forward if they follow the conditions of approval that were put in place for the project.
Thank you. Okay, great. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? Nope. I will now close.
We do have one more.
You do? Okay, yeah. Please come forward. If you could fill out one of the blue speaker cards and then state your name for the commission as well. You have 5 minutes to make a comment.
My name is Hada Mutawakil. I also live on Fandango Loop. My backyard also would be facing the property. I share a similar concern. I actually am in a 2-story home with the tallest residential building, I think it's 2.4, would be immediately behind my property. And it seems that 188 feet, I don't know what that looks like if I were to look out the window and try to imagine what that looks like. But again, same concern on privacy, and if there's anything that could be done to kind of mitigate that or to reinstate some of that privacy we've been enjoying for the last year and a half. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Either Sean or Greg, I know that there's a setback of about 180 feet, I think is what was indicated in the report. And there wasn't a section, there we go, there's the section that shows the...
So that, on the top right, that image is Fandango Loop as it comes around probably where their houses are. So you can see the building will be visible, but it's quite in the distance. And the section view also shows that as well.
Sorry, are there balconies facing Fandango Loop? I can't tell from the picture.
Some
Yes, some balconies.
And there's also landscaping, there's quite a big buffer. Obviously, that's a rendering that we were looking at, but there is quite a bit of buffer of a landscape with mature trees that,
There'll be a layering of landscaping. So on the north side of Sierra Village Drive, will be street trees. On the south side of Sierra Village Drive, there will be street trees. There will be a parking. Actually, I'm trying to get the wrong. There's a landscape strip with some small parking areas, the loop road, and then additional landscaping as you get to the building. One of the other things we did when we worked with the applicants on this is we tried to orient the buildings. So we got the especially on this, well, I guess everything that faces Sierra Village Drive. We tried to get the narrow portion of the buildings. You can see some of those buildings have very long sections. We tried to get the narrow buildings. So the building that was just commented, RB 2.4, that's the second building from the right in the image above. It's kind of is that a Z shape? So we tried to get that width narrow. I don't know that we have that dimension, but it's not one of the longer facades. If you look at the buildings, and the one to the right, it's just the very end of the building. That building's just about 10 feet taller. But with the site angles, that the applicant provided, with the cross section, with the site angles, yes, these buildings are going to be visible from somebody's second floor window or somebody's backyard. When they look up, the buildings will be visible. I don't think the balconies. I can't imagine the balconies are going to be able to see into anybody's backyards. With the depth from the backyard setback on these residential homes, along with the trees, the angle looking down. I don't think you're going to have any of these senior citizens, glaring into anybody's backyard. I mean, that's kind of how we looked at this. We tried, we were definitely in the early stages talked about making sure we skinnied up those buildings as much as possible as they got closer to the single-family residences.
and then also, I mean, these are not apartment complexes. It is for senior living. It's a different
Community care,
clientele.
it's basically assisted living.
Yeah. So, does that at least provide you information for the question that you had?
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. You guys can put the comments, or both of them,
You can
right
just
over
give it
there.
to
Yep.
us.
Thank you. Are there any other people who would like to make a comment at this time? No? Okay. Seeing none, I'm now going to close the public comment period and then ask if there's any additional questions or comments from the applicant or for the applicant from the commission at this time.
I just have one question, and it's with the development agreement, the $1.50 per square foot fee that's being added to the condition, the development agreement. Can you walk through what the purpose of that for? Is that to help us meet our
It's to
regional
help.
housing
Well,
needs?
this site wasn't anticipated to have residential uses, and it's a very unique use. And early on, I think Chris alluded to it. She didn't go into a great detail, but early on, we spent a considerable amount of time trying to understand and have Erickson explain to us what their licensing, how their licensing worked. Because at the very early stage, I'll be honest, the 1,200 units, we looked at that and we thought, hey, these are just typical senior apartments. So it's residential, not multifamily. Residential is not allowed in the general commercial zone. So through quite a few conversations and letters and the operation plan, to be honest, the operation plan that's part of the DA, it's just something we've never experienced here. They're going through licensing every one of those 1,200 units. They're monitoring every individual. I'll be honest, it's just not nothing. It's not a use that we've run into here in Roseville, and some of us in our careers. It's very unique for something so large. And so we thought, well, okay, it is providing a residential use. And so in our discussions with with Erickson and the applicants, it was kind of negotiated out that, hey, we'll help you, or they'll help us with our affordable housing needs. So that $1.50, it's for just the living area. So I know that there's been Sean had the estimate. They've provided us some details on their buildings. in order to get fee estimates for the entire project. But so we have a better understanding of what that livable space is and what the fee will be applied for. And so our housing division will use that money for a number of reasons. One, I'm hoping they'll use it for matching funds and get more money from the state of California. And then when they do that, they'll be able to offer it up to affordable housing builders to help subsidize other affordable projects throughout the city. So it really is going to have a ripple effect. Hypothetically, if we could double the amount Erickson pays over time through grants, we could be putting over $5 million into affordable housing, which is probably two affordable housing complexes that we can help get over the financial hump.
Yeah, and that's the reason I asked the question. I kind of knew the answer.
Yeah.
But I think it is a benefit that's coming
Yes.
back to the city.
Yes.
In helping us meet those needs.
Yes.
For affordable housing.
Yeah.
On a go-forward basis. And I thought I heard a number of 800,000 with phase one.
Phase one,
And
yeah.
2.7 million.
Yeah. That's
And I know affordable housing is extremely expensive to develop, and
Mm-hmm.
the city's done a great job of doing it, but this is a huge help in us meeting those needs. So I just wanted to make sure anyone watching that is seeing that there's some value that's coming out of this, and that development agreement amendment is a good carrot out there to help us meet our needs.
And I know the housing division, with obviously the city council, ultimately approves these agreements. But that amount of money, the 2.7, if we can leverage that for additional state money, $2 million, $2.5 million is roughly about what we provide for say a 180, 200 unit affordable housing project for the local match, and then that helps them get over the hump on all the other state funding
Makes them
programs,
competitive
and
to get the other
it makes
funds.
them very competitive. And so hypothetically, I'm not going to say this will happen, but hypothetically, this could help us ensure that we get 400 affordable units throughout the city someday.
And I think that's a very good thing. So that I just wanted to highlight that at least at some level, so that everyone knew that that's a component of this project.
Yes.
So the question I had kind of adds on to that. These units, 1,200 units, will they count towards our demand requirement for housing units at all in any form or fashion?
No. So the requirement for housing is broken down by income category, our requirement. So our housing stock, our existing housing stock, we have a surplus of market rate housing. So we don't, there are no affordable units per se in this project. That's why they're paying the linkage, or that's why we negotiated out the linkage fee. So there are no restricted units on this project. So it provides a different type of housing that is in demand, but it doesn't really have any impact on the housing element requirements, because we have so many. We have enough land for units over the 100% of area median income. Our surplus is so large that we don't need any more.
Okay, all right. Okay, well then, any other questions from commissioners, from the applicant specifically or staff? No. Then I will now close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Go ahead and make a motion. That the Planning Commission takes the following actions. They consider the 11th addendum to the Sierra Vista Specific Plan Environmental Impact Report, that we recommend the City Council approve the Development Agreement Amendment, that we adopt the 2 findings of fact and approve the major project permit Stage 1 subject to the 92 conditions of approval, adopt the 2 findings of fact and approve the major project permit Stage 2 subject to, is that a repeat of those conditions?
The same conditions of approval, yes.
2, I'm sorry, I'll reread that. Adopt the 2 findings of fact and approve the major project permit Stage 2, subject to 92 conditions of approval, and approve the lot line adjustment subject to 9 conditions of approval.
Second that.
Commissioner Jensen has made the motion, and Commissioner Pryor has seconded. Could we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hagen-Jost?
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph?
Yes.
Commissioner Pryor?
Yes.
And Chair Martin?
Yes, the motion's approved. There's a 10-day appeal period for this item. Thank you. Next
And,
item up on the
Chair
agenda?
Martin, I'll also point out the development agreement will be going to city council. So,
Okay.
so all the major project permit and lot line adjustment, all the entitlements are contingent upon city council's approval of the development agreement.
Next item up is item 6.2. It's a request to consider the addendum to the North Central Roseville Specific Plan, Parcel 49, Bayside Church / Topgolf Mitigated Negative Declaration, and approve a major project permit Stage 1 modification and major project permit Stage 2 for 1730 Freedom Way. For the record, file number PL 23-0002. Shelby, can we have your presentation?
You may. Good evening, Chair Martin, and Planning Commissioners. My name is Shelby Maples, Associate Planner, and I have a presentation for you on the Alpine Climbing Adventure Fitness Facility on Parcel 49. The project is located at 1730 Freedom Way on the Lot 7 of the Parcel 49 site, which is north of the Topgolf facility and adjacent to Highway 65. The proposed project would modify the major project permit Stage 1 for the Parcel 49 site, including increasing the overall square footage by roughly 8,000 square feet, as well as a change of use on that Lot 7 for pads V and W from 22,800 square feet of office to 30,872 square feet of the indoor climbing gym. And the proposed project would modify the phasing of Parcel 49. The project also includes the major project permit Stage 2 to evaluate the architecture and design of the proposed climbing gym, which at its highest point will be 60 feet and 6 inches tall. 75 parking spaces are proposed as part of the project. As you can see here, the proposed building occupies the majority of the eastern side of the parcel, and the parking area that serves it is located to the west. The main entry of the proposed building faces west toward the interior of the Parcel 49 development, and the northern elevation of the building faces Highway 65. The south side of the building is adjacent to the Topgolf nets. So the proposed facilities architecture draws inspiration from its Alpine brand and name, which incorporates elements which complement the existing development within Parcel 49. The color palette is a mix of cool gray tones, and the facade utilizes a variety of materials, such as metal wall panels, decorative faux stone cladding, wood siding, and steel canopies to provide visual interest. The roof is sloped and has several levels. Large windows are a prominent feature of the design, particularly on the north and west elevations. So while there are fewer windows on the south and east elevations, that's because these sides face the Topgolf facility and the service areas. So the overall height of the proposed building is 60 feet and 6 inches at the highest point. And while there's no maximum height within the planned development zone for Parcel 49, the general height for commercial and industrial uses is 50 feet. So this will exceed the height by 10 feet. However, since that building is adjacent to Highway 65 and Topgolf, which Topgolf is a 54-foot building and has netting with poles that are between 90 and 150 feet tall. Overall, the design is consistent and with the Parcel 49 site and the city community design guidelines. An addendum to the previously adopted Bayside Church Topgolf Mitigated Negative Declaration was prepared for the project, as this was a change from office and also increased the square footage. However, it found that there was no new or substantially more severe environmental impacts identified with the project and was within the scope of the previously adopted document. Early notice of the project was posted on the Arcona website. Notice of the Planning Commission hearing was posted to Arcona on the Press Tribune and was distributed to neighbors within 300 feet of the site. To date, no comments have been received. I would like to point out that there is one revision to condition number 1 of the major project permit Stage 2. That is just updating the dates, as you can see here. In conclusion, the project is consistent with the goals, policies, and standards of the zoning ordinance, general plan, and community design guidelines, and the required findings can be made. Therefore, staff recommends that you take the actions listed here on the slide as with the modified condition number 1 for the major project permit Stage 2. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Shelby. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff at this time? No? Okay, then I will now open up the public hearing, and I'd like to invite the project representative to come and address the commission, please.
Commissioners, good evening. My name is Jonathan Meek, representing Alpine. We do have a couple of slides that I believe the tech team's going to queue up here for us to walk through. So over the next couple of minutes, would like to take an opportunity to answer a couple of things. One, who Alpine is, kind of why we do what we do, why we exist, and most importantly, why Roseville? Why am I standing in front of you today? Do want to say thank you to ultimately the city staff, who's really great to work through throughout this process. That first picture that you saw is actually our current building. That's in Ripon. We did not have to pay extra for the beautiful sunset that night. Just happened to be right as we were wrapping up construction. It had just rained, and man, we really love this photo. A lot of good memories. Okay, so as we go to the next slide, we were founded in 2020, and we are the largest family-focused indoor climbing, adventure, and fitness center in the Central Valley. The 2020 is not a typo. In March 2020, we were about a week away from closing escrow on the land. And you can kind of remember what was happening in 2020 of March. I'm a deep man of faith, Christian man. I was on my knees in prayer saying, Lord, what exactly are you doing in this situation? Felt the Lord saying, you need to move forward and press on. And man, I'm very glad that we did. So while every gym was closed in the state of California, we decided to put a shovel in the ground and build one. A lot of people thought we were nuts at the time. I'm grateful that we moved forward because of this picture right here. This picture was taken at our 1-year anniversary birthday. And what I want you to note in the picture is not only the smiling faces, but the diversity of people that come and congregate within the space. Our oldest member is 72 years old, multi-generation climber. His children are also members, and his grandchildren are also members. They usually frequent every Sunday, come to the gym, all of them to spend quality time as a family. There's definitely a theme and emphasis within family is unique to our brand and what we're about. I'm a father of 4 myself, married 15 years, so that's where a lot of that comes from. As we go to the next slide, first I want to take a look at the picture on the right. What the gentleman there is doing is called bouldering. Boulder walls are about 16 feet tall. There's no ropes. Accessibility to that is very easy to do. We will have about 5,000 square feet of bouldering in this facility here in the city. If you look behind him, you'll see kind of the taller rope room area where there's ropes, top ropes, lead climbing, sport climbing. Again, the sport of climbing has grown exponentially in popularity over the last several years, as you know. And then if you all go all the way and look at the top, we've got our logo that's encased in LED lights, and that faces Highway 99. The big glass that you saw in the picture of our facility that's going to face 65, through that glass is going to be covered with climbing walls. So eventually we will have this rendering, but as we break around the emphasis and reason why we have so much natural light, 1, it makes the space feel very warm and awesome, and then 2, it allows people to imagine hitting golf balls off that Top Golf on a fun afternoon with your friends, and as you're tracking your best shot that you've ever hit in your life, through the other side, you're watching somebody rock climb. And that's what we saw a couple years ago when we started chasing this project up here. On the left side, you'll see why we exist. We exist to serve our community by inspiring them to safely pursue their passions and live life on adventure. Those words on that circle, safety, adventure, community, passionate, and servant leadership, those aren't just buzzwords for us. It's the core and foundation of kind of why we do what we do. And again, I go back and reference that family of multi-generation of people that come and frequent the space. And it's a privilege and opportunity to be able to serve them through the sport of climbing, which is a ton of fun. If you go to the last slide, we'll kind of answer the question, why Roseville? Now, that's not the exact rendering. That's our current Ripon building that we dropped on there kind of in the early days, and very soon we'll have a final rendering pending approval tonight. We will get working on that of what this is going to look like, and that's ultimately what we will release when we announce construction on the project. But really, besides the demographic things and all the things you know about why Roseville's great, there's a couple of things that have in common that really stood out to us as we looked at a variety of different cities in the eastern Sacramento submarket. One is kind of this commitment to excellence and commitment to quality. Roseville is a very quality city. You have a very nice city. I appreciate doing business in a city like that. And then number 2, most importantly, is the synergy and relation to family and family values. Again, as a family man myself, building a business that is so emphasized on valuing family. Right now we live in a world where dad goes to CrossFit, mom goes to Pilates, kid 1 goes to baseball, kid 2 goes to golf, kid 3 goes to swim. When they remember they have a 4th kid, he's usually along for the ride, and none of those things are inherently bad. I kind of just describe my own family. But this is a place where everybody can come together, and the amount of stories that we've already created over the last 2 years is very fulfilling, meaningful, and that's why I stand in front of you guys today. So if you go to the last slide, probably my favorite one, this is our adventure center. We will have a space like that in this facility as well. Very much emphasized towards the younger climbers, giving kids an opportunity 4, 5, 6 years old to get exposed to this incredible sport and continue to grow. It's also a place for adults to temper their fears if they don't want to go 0 to 65 feet right out of the gate. So happy to answer any questions for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions for the applicant at this time? Thank you, Mr. Meek. You can have a seat. Okay, I will now open the public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission on this item? Seeing none, I'll now close the public comment period. And then are there any additional questions for the applicant from the commission? Okay, I will now close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we consider the addendum to the North Central Roseville Specific Plan, Parcel 49, Bayside Church, Topgolf Mitigated Negative Declaration, adopt the 2 findings of fact, and approve the major project permit Stage 1 modification subject to 5 conditions of approval, and adopt the 2 findings of fact and approve the major project permit Stage 2 subject to 65 conditions of approval.
With the
Clarify-
date modification?
Yeah, I was going to say with the modification.
Yes.
Excellent.
And that's for item 6.2, for the record, file PL 230002.
Second.
All right, we have Commissioner Pryor has made the motion, and Commissioner Randolph has seconded the motion. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Randolph,
Yes.
Commissioner Pryor,
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagen-Joes,
Yes.
and Chair Martin.
Yes, motion is approved. There's a 10-day appeal period for this item. All right, next item up on the agenda is the Commissioner and Staff Report. We first up have the election of the Planning Commission Chair, item 7.1. I'll now open public comments. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the commission on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. And then, Commissioners, are there any comments or questions? Typically, what we do is we push the vice chair up to the chair as the standard procedure. And Commissioner Covington's not here tonight, and so we'll...
Do we need to make a motion or just say, I nominate Commissioner?
Yeah.
Covington.
Okay, great.
I second.
Okay.
There it is.
Commissioner Jensen's made the motion. I'll give it to Commissioner Hagen-Joes as the second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hagen-Joes,
Yes.
Commissioner Pryor,
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph,
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
and Chair Martin.
The motion's approved. Next item? Yes. Oh, did I not say yes? I'm sorry. Yes, yes. Sorry.
You check with Commissioner Covington
I actually sent a text to her and made sure it was okay if we,
just now?
yeah,
No.
no, a few minutes ago.
Okay.
She says, yes, that's great, so she's excited. So
We're to miss a meeting. so-
congratulations. Yeah, great meeting to miss. Congratulations to Commissioner Covington for becoming chair. Next item up on the agenda, 7.2, the election of the Planning Commission Vice Chair. I'll now open the public comments. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the commission at this time? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. And then, Commissioners, are there any questions or any items? Or if anybody would like to make a
Go ahead and
motion?
nominate Commissioner Pryor for the vice chair position.
Oh,
I'll second.
okay. Commissioner Jensen has made the motion, and Commissioner Hagen-Joes has seconded the motion. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagen-Joes,
Yes.
Commissioner Pryor,
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph,
Yes.
and Chair Martin.
Yes. Motion's approved. The next item is appointment of the Design Committee Chair. I will now open up the public comments. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. And then Commissioners, is there any discussions or would anyone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for Commissioner Hagen-Jost for the Design Committee Chair.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Randolph has made the motion and Commissioner Jensen has seconded the motion. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Pryor?
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph?
Yes.
Commissioner Hagen-Jost?
Yes, I guess.
Chair Martin?
Yes, the motion's approved. And then item 7.4 is the Design Committee alternate. I'll now open the public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the commission on this time? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. And if, Commissioners, if there's any discussion or we just want to jump into a motion, if anybody wants to make a motion?
I'll nominate Commissioner Randolph.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Jensen's made the motion and Commissioner Pryor has seconded the motion. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Hagen-Jost?
Yes.
Commissioner Pryor?
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph?
Yes.
And Chair Martin?
All right, yes. The motion's passed. I'd just like to congratulate all the new appointees for this next year. It's amazing. They're stepping up. And then next item is the reports from staff. Are there any reports?
We were hoping for some controversy there, so you disappointed us.
We're trying.
We'll have a meeting on July 27th, so you can plan for that. And then next Wednesday, the City Council will be hearing the appeal of the grocery outlet. You took action on that in early May. That's finally come around for a City Council hearing. So on the 27th, I'll let you know how that went.
Okay.
And that's all, I think that's all we have for tonight. And for Commissioner Hagen-Jost, we do have a Design Committee meeting next week with 2 items.
I do know
So
that. I do know that.
I was going to warn everybody.
A new appointee.
Oh, yes, the
Design Committee.
The Design Committee has a new appointee,
Sandra?
Sandra.
Jared,
No, Sandra.
oh, no, who, the
Who?
Paulson.
Jared Paulson, yeah, declined to seek a his job was just too busy, so he declined to seek a second term. So yeah, Sandra Boyle is going to be on there, and we gave her a little overview orientation this afternoon, Joe and Derek and I. So look forward to that.
All right, congratulations to her. Any questions for staff from Commissioners?
I'd just like to take a second to thank you for your year as serving as the chair. Been an honor working with you. You've done a great job. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
thank you. Did you have a question?
That's what I was going to
Oh,
say, too.
okay, well, thank you, I appreciate it.
Third it. Cheers.
And I'll join in on that,
There it is.
congratulating you. It was good.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a joy. I really enjoyed this year. It's been very enjoyable. So with that, can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Good job.
Commissioner Hagen-Jost has motioned and Commissioner
Second.
Jensen will give it the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.